And it should look totally normal on your screen, but it might be a little bit different for me to navigate because I'm working from my husband's tablet. So things are tinier here, but probably the same size that they usually are on your viewing end. Let's talk about what we're doing this week. And let's do that by looking at our actual dashboard on Ivy Learn. So if I go to my dashboard, and let me go way out so you can follow the pathing of what I'm doing for yourselves, although I'm sure you're getting more used to it. We're in Basic CAD 115. Has a nice picture of the black background with something drawn in the back. We're going to come down to week 4, and everything you really need is an assignment 4, and then we'll talk about this external link to CAD Blocks Kitchen. If I open up assignment 4, it says in this week's video we cover the following: adding layer names, they're listed for you; adding the patio, which you saw last week but we didn't add on. It must be dimensioned as in the PDF. Adding the deck, the same thing for that. And then downloading block libraries such as placing doors and windows, and then make sure that they're on the correct layer, which we'll talk about tonight. All this stuff will be explained, snapped neatly. So there's just more specifics on what I'm looking at for the homework. Kitchen blocks, windows, doors, bathrooms, furniture. We're going to get all of those things downloaded tonight. I'm going to be your new favorite person. You're going to understand why people draw using CAD instead of by hand nowadays, not just because technology advanced, but total efficiency. And basic text, 10 points. So that'll just look at a little bit of text. I think we've barely covered it, but it just gives people who are in space planning the opportunity to label their bedrooms and things without having to pull it into PowerPoint. Very simply, I'll show you existing text in the file and how to scale it up and down. And then creating a PDF D size, which I covered very briefly last week. We'll cover again because I want you to turn this assignment in that way and as a DWG file. It just says, notice that there's point values assigned to each of these things, which makes up your rubric for the week. I'm going to pull my chat down. All right. We just got Jack who says, hey, y'all. So he's trying to be friendly and get the conversation going for the night. So let's start by looking at our file and adding layer names. And while I'm pulling up my file, does anyone want to comment on how the floor plan went? Was it good? Do you feel like you're getting more efficient at the tools?
Allison?
Uh-huh.
After I turned mine in, I noticed that I was missing a really small window. I'm trying to explain where it's at. It's on the west side of the floor plan.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I went back and I was going to resubmit and add it in there, but I could not tell at all like what the dimensions would be for it, and it's something we didn't cover in class on that small window. So I noticed when you just pulled yours up, you had it on there, but I kept going back on the video to the very end, and I never saw where you put it in.
All right. All right. Yeah, I can cover that with you today. And maybe when we're moving on that side to do the patio, then we can cover what that dimension is, or I could dimension it on screen for you, Cindy.
Okay, thanks.
But hopefully drawing the lines, filleting, all of that good stuff is becoming a little bit more second nature. I know it's only week 4, but like I said, or if I didn't say it to everyone last week, once we've learned those tools in the first 2 panels, we've learned everything pretty much about AutoCAD that you would need for basic CAD. So that's why the rest is going to be repetition until about week 6, when we're going to download SketchUp, and we're going to be doing a little bit of both, rounding off the end of CAD and moving into SketchUp. So I'm going to pull up my drawing in the background. I'm going to bounce back and forth between here. So fixture, furniture, equipment, ceiling symbols, lighting, electrical, HVAC. These are all just good layers to have in a residential drawing. I have extra in mine because this is an old file and I was just kind of working on a dimensioned file today. But basically, you've already added a wall, right? We've clicked on our first button with a little sunshine star burst on it, and you can add text a-wall. We can click off of it, and now we've created it. We talked about how we can have the choice of our color, which here, this one was automatically set to 7. I can set it to 255. Tonight, for printing purposes, we're going to change these and just look at the differences in them, and I'll let you kind of select your own. So I'll put it on 253 for now, which is a gray. If you didn't have that, that's fine. I'm just reminding you of the usability of your layers. So I'll click OK. What I'm asking you to do is create more layers that will be useful to those 108 people, and just have a roster of layers for people who use this file in the future to understand what kind of things would be on separate layers. So if we go back out and we look at our assignment specifically, furniture, the ability to toggle that on and off, fixtures, so those are things most often that if you're going to move, you're not taking them with you. That would be things like your sink, sinks in the kitchen, as well as a mudroom, things that are plumbed in, toilets. We're not going to move those fixtures when we're leaving our house, bathtubs. So we want those on their own layer, plumbing basically. Special equipment, if you had some type of electronics you also would not be moving, such as switch panels or other things that could go on that layer. Ceiling symbols, we're going to do our own reflected ceiling plan, so separating that out and being able to toggle it over top of floor plan and copy it will be important. Lighting separate from special ceiling symbols, electrical, HVAC, dimensions, labels. So we have dimensions and we have AWOL. I'm just asking you this week to add these other ones. And labels is going to be what I'm going to call our text. You can make your text even more specific. So I'm always looking for these layers that you create them for me. But if there's a better way for you to work, you can always add more. If you say, I want to have room labels on a layer, and then I want to have special notes on a layer. So whatever is going to make you more efficient at turning things on and off in a conductive way. All right, so going back to my AutoCAD, very simply, I'm just asking you to, again, new layer, and rename them according to everything listed, and anything that you feel, maybe if you're in 108, you want an extra layer. If there's more, you're not going to be marked off of that. If there's not enough that's listed, you would be. So furniture is one of them. Remember, if you hit name, it'll alphabetize them. So if you're very OCD about that kind of stuff and it says give them as listed, then you could list them alphabetically. That would be a nice thing to do. But pick and choose different colors, see what they look like. It's not going to affect anything. We can always go back and change these in later weeks, and I will eventually tell you how I want them for final printing. But for now, I want you to play with the colors because I don't want you to feel like you're going to ruin anything. You might get scared if you turn certain things on and off, but you really can't ruin it.
Allison, are you just in layers? Did you click on layers to get to that drop down screen?
Yeah, I clicked on Layer Properties button right here in the middle for layers.
Okay.
Is it working for you, Cindy?
Yes, I've never followed along with you like this, so yeah, I may have more questions.
Okay.
It worked, but I only have AOL, core unchangeable dimensions, layer one title block.
Okay. You are breaking up again. I can hear you when I listen carefully, which I've been doing. But it's like once I start talking, I don't know, because it was working a little bit earlier. So just type that last portion. You said something about you might ask more questions, but I don't know what you said before that.
Okay, I'll text.
Okay, thank you. Just put it in the chat and then I can read it. So repeat it and repeat it again. You have new layers. It's underneath your assignment online. So another one would be equipment or lighting. And like I said, it'll sort them alphabetically. So if I come back to my drawing and I say equipment, and then I can click off of it. If I click on color, I just click on the little color next to the color box next to equipment, And it says 255. I could try 252. We're not going to draw with them today. We're just going to change some of them. There's no rhyme or reason. Mostly I'm concerned all the names are showing up over here. All right, so we're going to get all these layers in. Now, once you make them, if you're in 108 and there's something you're creating this week that needs to go on one of them, I will be looking for that. So we're creating one called label. So I'll create that one because we will use that today. If I create label, then I want to be on label when I'm drawing my text. So my text is on label. If I'm drawing furniture or I bring in furniture blocks, I might want to put them on the furniture layer, so on and so forth. So be conscious of creating layers and using them, not just having them in here and never putting anything on them because they're useless that way. All right, so this is about where everyone should be. That's why I had it. I had started with a dimensioned file. It's the same file template as you guys. It just has some wonky layers because I've used it 100 times in the past for demonstrations. So I'm just going to move my guy kind of OCD down here closer to this guy a little bit. And then I'm going to talk about using patio PDFs that I've included under your homework as well. So there's two files. There's patio and deck zoom view. And this week I zoom in because there's little teeny tiny dimensions. So I give you a zoomed in idea of the upper left-hand corner of your plan. If we go back, that guy's going to attach right here in the upper left. That's where our patio is going. And then our deck is running the whole side of this house. So we need to look back at that. So deck, this is the upper corner on the right hand side where that happens. And there's a lot going on with the stairs. So I did zoom this in so you're not zooming way in and way out on your boathouse core drawing. I did include also, let's see, this bigger one which shows you how those things come into play. And this is really useful in understanding drawings. People will send things like this all the time in the field. So you get a bigger one, and I'm being really nice. Usually you would have to zoom in and out. But then I included a zoom in of this corner where there's so many tiny dimensions, and a zoom in of this corner where there's a lot of tiny and condensed dimensions. So we'll be bouncing back and forth between this file and our AutoCAD. Again, I just saved the PDFs as I did last week from our assignment. If you scroll down in assignment 4, you'll see way at the bottom, we have the PDF core with deck and patio. It's the big zoomed out overall floor plan, and then patio and deck zoom view, which shows those two areas with more detail. And then the last one is going to be part of our blocks, which won't come to the later portion of this video. So I'm checking the chat and I didn't see any updated information. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing this patio and deck. We're going to start with the patio because it's the simplest, and I think we can practice some of our offsetting and easy overall dimensions. So patio is on the patio and deck zoom view. It's also on the big one, but it's easiest to read here. We're coming out 14 foot 8. We're coming down 18 foot 6. 14 foot 8 and 18 foot 6. So I'm going to grab my line tool in the upper left hand corner, and I'm going to make sure that I zoom in and I see the end point is highlighted with that little square on the end point in the upper left of my building. I have my polar tracking on. You can tell because of the dash line. That's found down here. We have our snaps on. We want to make sure our standard snaps, our endpoint, midpoint, center, perpendicular, tangent's okay, it's not super necessary. All those guys are on. All right, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on floor plan, and I want to be on by layer so that it's white like the rest of my floor plan. If ever you notice that it's something funny, so watch, if I do this, if you want it to be the color that's showing next to floor plan, that means that something happened over here where you adjusted your color on this side and it's deviating from the actual layers color. So you can click right back on by layer and it'll then be whatever you set under your layer settings. It should have automatically been set for you, but it's good for you to see. Sometimes little things like that happen and it feels really confusing. Oh no, my lines are suddenly yellow. Well, maybe something's going on over here. So take a look, and if it's off, change it by layer. Okay, so I'm going to grab that line, and I believe it was 14 foot 8. So I'm pulling over, it's puller on 14 foot 8 inches, enter. And then I believe it's 18.6. So I'm going to pull down, puller tracking on 18 foot dash 6 inches, enter. And then instead of coming all the way over and meeting here, although that's what the physical deck board is doing, I don't want lines on top of lines. I just want the idea of the patio meeting with my corner. So I'm going to end at this corner right here. And I don't need to know the measurement. I'm just finishing off my rectangle. Did we get rid? That's a good question. So Cindy said, did we get rid of our dimensions before starting the patio? You wouldn't have deleted them, Cindy, but if I were you, so I have this really nice clean version, but hopefully all your dimensions were on your dimension layer. So if I had been Cindy and this had been what I was starting with, and I wanted to draw my patio, see how my dimension layer is on? So what you would want to have done is come into your layer properties. You would want to make floor plan the active layer by either double clicking on it or clicking on this check button, which causes the check to appear, and now it's active. With that active, I can then freeze my dimensions, which means I'm just turning them off. And that cleans this up so that I would then be in a good position to start drawing new things onto my building. And then later I could toggle them on and delete what I wanted, or I could keep them off, or later I could create a different dimension layer for just the patio and have one for the house. But for our purposes this week, yes, you would want to toggle off your dimensions. I wouldn't delete them. Thank you.
So Allison,
Yeah.
so I'm supposed to be on floor plan layer, or are we supposed to be on like a wall? Because I don't see a floor plan one in my thing unless I missed something.
Yeah, for you, that's correct. It would be a wall. So
Okay,
a wall would be your drawing layer. I switched that this year because they use it in the book and they'll keep referring to it. So it's helpful to think of it that way. It's basically what you
okay,
drew your core with.
okay.
Thanks to you
Thanks.
too. See, you helpful people. This is why we talk. All right, so we have our layer set to a wall, and then we can come in and add to the house. If you really wanted to, you could separate this out because these are exterior things. I don't know exactly why, but in the future you might want them on your own layer. You can make the choice. I know it's not going to affect things too much. You could also create a new layer and name it patio and deck and have it toggle on and off separate from the house if you felt so led. But most of the time, it's more for interior things and very intense detailing that's going to take in place of the house. We wouldn't necessarily need that unless this was like an addition that we want to say, I have a couple versions of this deck and patio, so I want to be able to toggle them on and off. So I'm just going to keep continuing drawing it with the same layer that I drew my core, dimensions off so I'm not having to read through them and have a bunch of mess. And I did my first two exterior dimensions based off of my PDF, which is a 14 foot 8 and the 18 foot 6. And then we can see there's this equal 1 foot wall. That's what's happening here. It's like a concrete wall that runs all the way around. And the easiest way to create that wall is by offsetting our exterior dimensions. So I'm going to come in here and I'll zoom way in close in the upper left-hand corner. And we're going to offset, and we want it to be 1 foot for the offset. You can see it down here in my command line. It said, what's the distance you want to offset? Hit enter, and then it wants to say, what are you offsetting? Well, I'm offsetting the 14-foot line, and I'm offsetting my 18-foot 6 line, which creates a nice 1 foot cement wall all the way around my patio. And then I can fillet this ugly corner. So I'm going to click fillet, and I'm going to pick the interior lines and fillet that corner until it's nice and clean. All right, let me check my chat. I'm doing good there. So now let's look back at our PDF. We've got our wall. We've got all the outside constructs. I can see there's 2 foot tiles that run evenly. So this is 1 full 2 foot. See, it's measured 2 foot. And I'm just going to tell you, these are 2 foot square, except for this little sliver. And just imagine real tile. When we have an 18-foot 6 with a 2-foot tile, we're going to have a little left over on one side or the other. So if we're doing a 2-foot square tile and we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up, because you want the pretty part, the full tile at the front where you're going to approach in, and we want that ugly side back here. Sometimes if this was ceiling tiles and you were looking at a ceiling, you want it even because it'd be wall to wall. But in this case, because there's this nice entry point, we're going to put the ugly portion right here where people don't think about it. And the other ugly portion is going to fall here right inside where our door block is. So for now, what I'm going to do is take these 2 lines that I've offset, and I'm going to offset, well, really, I'm going to offset this guy because he's special. So I'm going to offset him 2 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot all the way up. So let's see me do that. And we're going to try another tool, which I don't feel we've utilized very much, extend, except we're going to do it by typing. So first thing, offset. He's totally normal. 2 foot. This is going to create my horizontal lines going up. And it's just giving me some guides. All right, so that created the little ugly portion of a tile, but the nice approach here. We'll practice our trim tool. So I'm going to click trim. I'm choosing my cutting edge. That's this line right here. Yes, that's the only cutting edge, so I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to select the lines that I'm going to trim out. That's everything that's cutting into my wall. I don't want those. And then I can hit escape because I've finished trimming that side. Now over here, I want to extend it in all the way to this line right here until I have a block, which we'll have to do some cutting later. But I'm going to type extend, E-X-T-E-N-D. And I'm going to have it go to here and here and hit enter because those are the 2 objects I want to extend to, just those 2. And these are the objects I want to extend. And it just forces those lines all the way over to that wall that I've selected as my object to extend to. And I hit escape to get out of the command. Now extend.
Can you show me?
Yeah, go ahead.
That one more time.
I can show you that one more time.
Sure.
And before I show you, I'll tell you that extend can be found up here interchangeable with the trim tool. So if you don't want to type extend, you could switch to extend and click on it. So let's see what happens that way. If I undo my guys real quick and we're going to click extend. I click what I'm extending to. So I want all these lines to shoot over to this line and this line. And then I'm going to hit enter because that's it. That's where I want it to go to. And then I'm going to click the lines I want to extend by doing a selection tool to the left and clicking once I have them. And then I'll hit escape to get out of the command. But remember, any tool, if something disappears here ever and you can't find it, you can always type it. So I can type M for move. M is the shortcut for move, or I could type just move if I'm not comfortable with the shortcut, and I could start moving things. I could type copy. If something ever disappears and you're really at a loss and I'm not getting back to you, you can type almost anything. There's a written command for it instead of clicking, and it works just the same. All right, so we have those created here for us. And now let's go back to our PDF. We need to go and put in our lines going vertically 2 foot so that we are going to offset this 18-foot 6 wall over 2 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot a bunch of times. So if we come in here and we click offset, and I'm going to do 2 foot, and then I'm going to click this interior wall, and I'm going to pull it over 2 and click the line and pull it over 2 and click and pull to the right and click and pull to the right and click and pull to the right. You're not going to get sick of me saying that, and pull to the right. And then we've got all of our tile put in, with an exception of a threshold, which we'll come back to when we put our blocks in. So we've created a whole patio. You can be super proud of ourselves. Very little time, we've created a patio. All right, and then we'll come back to the door and the window in a little bit. Let's take a look at our deck. It's a little bit more tricky. So our deck on the opposite side of the house is 13 foot 8 out, and then everything offsets in. Its railing offsets in 4 inches, 4 inches, the board 8, and then a foot, a foot, a foot. So really this is my overall, 13 foot 8, and that's at the top. So I can go into my AutoCAD, and I'm going opposite corner. My deck is starting in the upper right. I can click on my line tool. It says specify first point. I find my end point and I click. And I'm pulling out 13.8. 13 foot 8 inches. Sometimes I do the dash, sometimes I don't. It doesn't affect anything. There's lots of ways. So you'll get full practice to see what it's like when someone uses 5 different ways of typing measurements, because I do it all the time, all different ways. And they all work the same. So I found this, but that zoomed in view didn't tell me much about this. I could start drawing a bunch of stuff down here. I could offset in 4 and then 8 and then 1 and 1 and so down. But I kind of want to know more about the outside of it. So let's see what else I know. I know that I have so far in here. So from this 13 foot 8, I'm going to want to draw a line maybe down to give me an idea of that stair. I don't need to know where it ends. I just want to give myself a starting line. And then I can offset and find my way inside here. And then it'll help me figure out where this line comes out to. So I will do that first. And then I see I have a 35 foot 5 1/4 down here. And I can always control plus because I know you don't believe me. And that one time Jordan proved me wrong. So 35 foot 5 1/4, teeny tiny down here. So what I'm going to do first is create a guide. I don't know how long this is. Eventually I'll figure it out because of all the relative measurements. But what I do know is how far out it is and how far to offset these things in order to find this line, which I can then find this line, and it'll all make sense in a minute. All right. So I'm coming in 4 inches, then 3, then 4. All right, so I'm going to go back, and I'm just giving myself the idea of this outside edge with an amount of length. Could be wrong, it could be right. There's nothing specific about that line I just drew, just that it comes down as a guide to offset in. I'm going to offset in 4 inches. That was the thickness of the railing. I'm going to offset in 3 foot from this most interior line of that railing. That's the offset for the stairs. I'm going to click offset and offset in 4 inches because that's the similar size of the opposite railing. So I picked this interior and pulled it to the left. We're always pulling to the left at this point. While I'm offsetting in 4, this also had a railing of 4, so I could offset this in up here. All right, once I found this guy, offset in, offset in, offset in, I can pull him all the way down to the bottom. And I can just keep going because what I need to know is how far out this comes. And if I look at my PDF, control minus minus, I see that this line comes as far out as the interior of this offset line. See? So it was like the interior to the stairs of this handrail is where this meets up with this. So I could find that and meet those two lines up. So I'm going to go back to my Autodesk. I can pull that down and that down. And I'm going to fillet the outside too. So I'm going to fillet this line and this line to make that bottom corner. And I'll zoom in even closer so it's bigger on your screen. So fillet this bottommost edge and this outmost side of the railing. Now notice I almost pulled down, which would not have worked. It would make that weird shape. I want to pull up and to the right with that exterior line. That makes it complete the corner here. And I can trim off this piece right here. So I'm going to click on my extend has to come back to be trim in the upper left hand corner. I'm going to click on the bottommost line because that's what I'm using to trim from. Enter because it's the only object to trim from. And then get rid of the line that I don't want anymore. So now I found at least where this ends, this side of the bottom. All right, and let me see. Let's do this. Rotate view counterclockwise. There we go. So this is what we just created down here. We've pulled this whole railing down. We've met the bottom edge with it, and we've created this little corner. Then we can take this and offset it up 35 and 5 1/4 to find the bottom stair, which is going to help me figure out where to end these stairs. So 35 foot 5 1/4. I'm just going to create a guideline. Now Heather would not. She'd be doing her polar tracking. I'm just going to create an obtuse, no one cares length line that comes off of this bottom corner. And I'm going to offset 35 foot 5.25. Look at me using a decimal this time. So I find decimals are easier than trying to navigate fractions when you get to this point. So 35 foot 5 1/4, which is 5.25. I'm going to click on my line to offset and pull it up. And there I have the bottom of that stair, and I can delete my guideline that I've created for myself. Oh, sorry, on this computer, delete doesn't work. So if that ever is a problem, you can use your erase tool like I just did there. It only happens on some keyboards. This is like a Mac keyboard, but it's not a Mac computer. So that found the interior part of the step, but I can't just trim from that step because if we look at our PDF, the step comes in from the railing here. So I have to figure out how to find each of these posts for my railing. And I'm going to start by looking at this bottom corner, completing this square. So if I control plus a bunch in and navigate my way down to the corner to look closer at what's going on there, we see a 4-inch railing. It's finished off at a corner. So up from that 4-inch railing, if I go up the railing, it looks like we're going to need some of these board lines to find the next railing because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have the next bottom of railing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It continues in that pattern. So this is a bunch of offsetting. Heather, did you have a magical offset tool help that you wanted to do for that? Because all I'm going to do is offset the 8. There's a couple special instructions for this size, but then I'm going to do 1 and keep pulling till I get halfway and then copy it halfway down. Is that what you would do?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
That would take a very long time.
Oh man, I'm so inefficient. It's now the student teaching the teacher at this point. So Heather, is this the point where you want to tell them, or do you want me to talk about fill in a couple more things up here with the 8 board and 1 where these extend over to create this awkward 6-inch stair? Or can you do all of that with what you want to do?
Well, I can just tell you what I would do because I don't think I can take your controls.
I can share your screen, but if you're not doing it, then sure, go ahead and tell me what you would want to do.
Okay, once you get a couple done, all you have to do, if you know it's equal spacing, all you have to do is copy, like, can you draw a couple lines?
Yeah. So let me check because I just want to make sure I get the 8-inch and then 1, 1, 1. Okay, so if I
why don't you draw a couple?
8
Once
inches.
you've drawn a couple, then you can just make it real easy on yourself.
All right, so we're going to do offset, and we're going to do 8 inches because the first one's special. And then we're going to click on what we want to offset, and we're pulling him in. Now ignore all this extra stuff. That's okay. We'll cut it out here in a minute. And then we're going to offset, and we're going to do 1 foot, enter, because that's the remainder of the boards. And I'm going to start by clicking those lines and pulling down towards the bottom. All right, I've got some lines, Heather. What do you want me to do?
Yeah. Instead of doing all of that, like once you have like a couple, so copy
Mm-hmm.
the one you just did.
Okay, so copy and then select just one line or multiple boards.
Just one.
Okay.
Okay, and then hit enter and then select the line above it.
Okay.
And now you can just pull it down to the last, like click there, and then you've got another one, and you can just do all the way down.
Oh, instead of like clicking twice, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so Heather's basically taking out the extra click and pull, click and pull, click and pull by doing the copying of the line. So if I ended here and I repeat what Heather's having us do, she said we hit this line, hit enter, select the point to copy about, which is above it, so we get that 1 foot spacing, click on it, and then click to the point of the line that's highlighted below and continue to click down. So that's good. That will save you 2 seconds, Heather. Come on, give me a little more credit than that. It's not like you're saving the world or something. All right.
It takes a lot of time. I promise.
All right, so you get that. But then what I would do instead of continuing down is the same thing, kind of. So select this many and then copy and then click this and then move it down to that point. But like Heather said, the sneaky part about that is you get double line from wherever you copied to. So I had to erase that extra line out. So you can do that, like a big chunk of it, almost this whole half, that once I get so many of them doing Heather's special way, I could copy up to the 1 foot point, all of these guys, grab the top point, come down to the last line.
With the one right above it, and then you don't have to erase.
And then,
all right, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, you shut up. And then we have all of those. So it doesn't have to be so time consuming. You can click 100 times if you want to practice that. I usually do it that way. It's something calming about it. So if you want to, you can. Before we finish this out, we don't want to forget our railing, and we don't want to forget that it has this little snazzy board at the other end. So let's look at our PDF. I'm going to control minus out. And I'm going to scroll down and control plus in and then scroll down again. So it's 4 inches in for the bottom railing and then 8 inches in for the half board. Well, a little over half board, like 3/4 board. So if I come in, I'm going to do offset. I'm going to do 4 inches. Click this bottom line and pull up. Now notice there's some stuff to be cut off, and it's okay to have a mess, and we can come back and get rid of it as long as we remember. And then, well, let's trim it now so we don't have the mess twice. So if I click trim, I click the wall to trim from and enter, and then that little piece will go away, and now I can offset this guy in that 8 inches. So I'm going to click offset 8 inches and move my little guy. Now notice he also had some yucky stuff over here that we didn't necessarily want, so I could trim that out. I click trim, the inside part of the railing, and I've got my little board. And eventually I have to trim all of these guys, which seems really obnoxious, but I can do it all the way up to the stairs fairly easily. So let's just, before we trim them, let's finish copying them by offsetting. So I'm going to offset 1 foot, enter. I'm going to finish these 1 foot boards all the way down. And now that I have those in there, I'm going to trim a bunch of this out really fast. So I'm going to click trim in the upper left hand corner. I'm going to click my interior railing. And there would be a fancy way to, if I want to do a lot of counting, that I could save some of those little lines for later because they'd be nice to have, but we're going to trim them off. So I click the interior most railing line as my trimming line and click enter because it's the only one. And then all the way up to here, and really all the way up to here, I'm going to trim because that's the first bottom of the stair, and everything else is interior boards that I'm not really concerned with. Okay, so we've trimmed off all that yuck, and we can hit escape to finish it, and we've got all of our boards in here. Now we've got to figure out this stair. If this is the 35 end, look, there's this half board, which is not true to my PDF. That's a full step, 35, then what looks like 11 and a quarter, and so on all the way up to this little board. So while I have these being full, it's 1/8, 1 full 1 foot, 1 full 1 foot, 1 full 1 foot, and then all of a sudden we have our staircase over here that has the little 6-inch board. So what I'm going to do is find 2 1-foot boards in and then offset the second one 6 inches. So I'm coming up to the top and I have my 8-inch, my 1 foot, my 1 foot, which is this one right here. And after him, there's a little 6-inch board over here. So I'm going to offset 6 inches, enter, and it's this guy, 2 1-foots in. And that gives me this little step here. And I'm going to look back at my PDF and see if I can't figure out how my hand railing starts. I think then it starts a little bit above this. So if I go back, I've got 6 inches. And then from that 1 foot up, I have my consistent 4-inch block. So if I go back to my Autodesk, if this is my 6 inches, I am going to use Heather's snazzy stuff. You're like, there's so many lines. And I want to make sure my endpoint is still on because it's not right now wanting to do it. It is on. Okay. So I'm going to hit escape until I'm where I want to be because I want to draw. So line, and what is your dealio, guy? He doesn't want to connect to this endpoint. Let me see if I have to put nodes on and then try it. So line, interesting, Heather. It doesn't want to find, I'm zoomed in pretty much, and it doesn't want to find any of these intersections. So let's try, is intersection marked? No, haha, maybe that's why. Turn on intersection, much better. All right, so make sure intersection's on under your snaps in the bottom right-hand corner because we need it to find a point in here. So we have 8, 1 foot, 1 foot. The top of the 6 foot is where we need to come up and draw. So I'm going to come in here, this point right here, and I'm going to pull up 4, and then I can draw my line over to figure out where I have my little square at the top of my stair handrails. And then from there, I can trim out some of this junk. So I'm going to click trim. I'm going to click the top of that handrail that's running horizontally, enter, and I'm going to get rid of these guys. So now the patio boards continue over here, and I have the top of my handrail. And then what I'm going to do is trim all of these lines. I'll select them so you know which ones I'm going to trim. All of these guys over to the interior of the handrail because these stairs are not in line with them. These stairs start, it's kind of like the deck boards end here and then a whole set of stairs at a different size starts. So I need to trim those over up to this point. So I am going to click trim and I'm going to click on the interiormost railing. I'm going to hit enter.
Are you there?
Uh-huh. Are you there?
Okay. Sorry, I had a warning on my side that said that you were having technical difficulties and it was going to turn off in
5 minutes? Uh-oh. Well, I hope you can hear me still. All right, hold on. And then I can also delete this line I can delete this line on the interior as well because it should be maintained. And then I can hit escape. Can everybody hear me okay? I'll check my chat. Can you hear me? I need people who can hear me to tell me because I heard Heather saying there were issues. Is the audio okay? Okay. So Heather was dying out there for a second. But we've got this all trimmed back because remember these boards are not in alignment with these deck boards, so that's why I trimmed them back. We have this 6-inch board here. We need to trim out some of this hand railing mess that's going on at the top there. So I see there's one little rail here and one at the bottom, so I can get rid of everything else that's falling in there. So I can do trim and grab both of these. Well, really, I could have just done the interior one, but why not? And hit enter. Those are both cutting blades now. And come up with the exclusion of the little square. And then escape out of it once I've cut out the mess at the top. Oh, I know why I did this one. So I had clicked on him because I wanted to get rid of the extra on this side. So I trimmed from him off this edge here. But we're not ready to fillet this. We don't know the length yet because we haven't figured out our posts, which help us know where it starts and ends the bottom of the stair. We got to clean this guy up. Now you could trim it, or you could just grab its node by selecting the line and clicking to the interior here. Okay, so just as successful. Now I can figure out all these stairs. So if I go back to my guy, and let's see our zoomed in one. We haven't looked at him in a while. So it says 11 foot or 11 inches and a quarter. 11 foot would be like death to us. We'd be way off the screen. So every board on that stair is not a foot. It's 11 and 1/4. So offsetting the 6, 11 and a quarter, all the way down to that 35 foot something and something. So if I come in and I grab this line, really offset it, 11.25. I'm never going to be able to eat that. Then I'll keep pulling it down and down. And this is where Heather was saying you could escape out of that. Click on this line, hit enter, click the board above it, and then I want to say click. Why didn't it work out for me, Heather? Click this line, enter. Oh, I didn't do copy. So I got to do copy. Click the object to copy, enter, and then the point to copy it about. And move it down and down and down, all the way to the bottom of my stairs. You could also just pull it the way I do. It's a little more comfortable, but it takes an extra click, which isn't everyone's deal. So there we have it. There's our stairs. And we stopped at the bottom one, and then we have to find our hand railing. So if I go back to my patio PDF and I look at the bottom of the deck down here, it says it's 4, and that makes this little square. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. And at the 5th line, I have the bottom of the next little 4-inch square. So if I come into AutoCAD, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this line at the bottom. This is the bottom right-hand corner over until it's perpendicular here. And I'm going to create a little line that's separate that makes that 4-inch square. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom, but only because I want to have these 2 little lines I can copy up to make a square in all those other spots. You'll see my madness work out here in a minute. So if I make these individual tiny pieces by moving these longer pieces over, I can copy those up every time and have both of those lines without more trimming. It's a quick copying thing. So now I'm going to do copy, and actually I'll escape out because I don't want to confuse you by pre-selecting them. I'm going to do copy and then select these two. And we said at the 5th line up, we need it to meet up with this point. So we're going to say enter about this bottom left-hand point. And we want to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see. Let me escape and try it one more time. Something I'm thinking about. So copy objects. These are the objects I want to copy. Enter about this bottom corner. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's where this bottom guy goes. Then it's up the next one. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the bottom point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Connects with the 5th line up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there is a Lord because it worked out. All right, so we have that guy right in there. And that tells me where my real bottom of my stairs is. And then let me see if I can do this with polar tracking. If I go to copy and I select these two guys and I do enter about this and I polar track them across, yep, I can find their perpendicular location for the other railing. And that allows me to finish off this side of the stair. So I'm going to select trim. I'm going to click on this interior railing, hit enter, and get rid of this extra line, then hit escape. Now I'm going to do some filleting. So I'm going to click fillet and do the bottom corners of this, and then hit enter to throw myself back into the fillet tool again and finish out that whole bottom railing on that side. So I finished my railings. I've put all these little posts in here. Let's look back at our PDF. Okay, so I'm going to control, well, actually I need to be on the big guy. So here, yep, he's right near the end of the stair. There's a railing here. It continues up every 5 boards, and then it looks like it got closer to the top. It deviates from that a little bit. I'm fine with just these 2 little ones being added in, so then it is 5. It looks like he's almost an extra one. I don't know, maybe it needed extra support. It probably was just copying the original drawing. Here it looks like this one's centered at the bottom, and up here it looks like it's centered with that one. So let's add a center here, a corner here, and then continue with the 5 boards up in here. I'll go back to here, and I'm going to start at the bottom. And, ooh, this is tricky. So I really want to have this little line be centered on here, a little cube here. So I'll draw this first one over here. I clicked the line tool, found the bottommost point interior to the deck. I'm going to pull out and polar track 4 inches, 4 inches, enter, click, and then draw up my line. Okay. It felt funny. It doesn't feel square. If ever you question, you're visually seeing, let's do it again. So line, bottom corner, come out 4 inches, enter, and then pull up. I don't know what it's sticking for. Sorry guys, it's my little tablet-y thing. 4, I don't know why it's tracking its corner point over there. So let me see. Maybe I have to click this, then do 4. That's drawing it though. We'll just have to do that. I don't know why my polar tracking is working funny. So I have to erase my little extra line because I basically drew one over and drew one up, but I want it 4 inches over. If I offset this, I could have offset that and trimmed the top off. So there's really 2 options, probably another option. And then there was another one in the middle of these 2 lines. So I suppose we could create a line to have center from would be the most accurate without cutting a bunch of stuff up. And then we have a midpoint and use our line tool to find that midpoint and draw a line down. Then offset it 2 inches both ways. There's a lot of thought, right? Offset 2 inches, enter. I'm going to pick this midpoint line and pull it to the left, and then I'm going to pick it again and pull it to the right, hit escape, and delete out the center, because what I was really doing was creating a centered bottom rail. I can delete out this guideline that helped me find my midpoint, so I'm just using my erase tool. You could hit delete on your keyboards. Probably yours are happier keyboards than mine. And then let's see how far this polar tracking guy wants to work with us. So I'm going to click on this. Well, we'll click copy, click these 2 lines to copy, hit enter, and copy them about this midpoint. And with our polar tracking on, we're going to see, oh yeah, that's pretty slick. So it pulls all the way up to the top. So these 2 are aligned up here. And then we could probably do the same with this bottom one. We could hit copy, find the bottom guy down here, hit enter. What we want to copy him about, we'll just pick an endpoint down here. And we'll pull him with polar tracking on all the way up perpendicular until this edge. And we get him in there. And we have rails that are matching up with each other. Pretty slick, that polar tracking. All right, so hopefully my sound is on the real recording one if it's been cutting in and out and it's there. If not, let me know. I could probably post an older video. I can't guarantee it'll be the same as this because I'm trying to approach the amount of work differently this year. But let's finish off our little railings in here. So we need to copy these 2 lines up 5 boards. So we're going to click copy, zoom into our little interior post at the end of our stairs, select those, hit enter, and select the bottom left-hand point again. We're counting up 5 boards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it clicks the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it clicks to the end. And that's probably enough, to be honest with you. I think that looks nicer than the one where I put in an extra one. I don't remember why I did that. So there we have those. If you really wanted to, you could copy these over here, because if you had a deck and it had a railing, it'd probably have the same on the other side. So you could take these guys, and this time I am going to do it sneaky. So I'm going to select what I want, click copy. That saves me selecting the extra click, and click an endpoint and polar track it over, and bam. Now I've got nice even posts on that side. So that completes our deck. And then let's go back and review our homework. So let's look at our assignment 4 and all the things we've got to tick off our list. Add layer names. We did that last week. We're just adding more. We're not concerned too much about their color, just that we get them all in our list and that we're drawing on the correct things. So we said a wall for you to add this patio and deck in. And then when we put in our text, we want it on labels. So we added our patio, we added our deck. I didn't dimension them. That's on you. We did dimensions last week. Hopefully you've dimensioned your whole house. All you're going to do is then add dimensions that will be turned on for the patio. So for this portion, I would say, let's put them on their own layer. So when you turn in your homework, you don't have double the dimensions showing up, and it's easier for you to see what you did. So thinking about it retrospectively, if we go into layer properties, we'll create a layer that's patio deck dimensions. If it makes more sense to you to keep all your dimensions alphabetically, you could do dimensions patio deck, which you could know are different than normal dimensions. Okay, either way. And then we can be on that layer. So I'm going to make it active by hitting the check mark, dimensions patio deck, if I was you. And then I can look back and forth at my sheet and say, I need the 6-inch right here to prove to her it's 6 inches, not make me measure everything 1,000 times. So come in endpoint to endpoint and pull over my dimensions and so on and so forth all the way around. But that way you can keep your house dimensions off and you can have these dimensions clearly for me this week since it's the new portion. All right, so that's on you guys. Download block libraries, place doors and windows. Okay, so notice there's another file. I'm the most benevolent teacher you have ever had. So boathouse blocks drawing. I used to make the students draw all this too, but I want to save us some time and practice some different procedures. So you're going to click on this guy and you're going to save him or save as. Really, I like to save as everything just in case. And then you're going to open him. So when you open him, it threw me back into my boathouse drawing, but this is what you'll see. A bunch of blocks. Some of them won't make sense to you this week because I decided not to make you do a section drawing on top of drawing all this other stuff, but some of them will. So some things are in section view, like this roof. It's just sideways because it's pulled out in section. These doors are pulled out in section to match with that side of the house. This is the section view of your fireplace. So it's showing us this whole section of the house. And if you're looking at your boathouse, what's happening is we've drawn up from the side our fireplace, which is here. We're basically drawing the roof. So we're drawing all the walls that will be elevated from the section, cutting through this portion of the house, pulled out to the right. And there's doors and windows that are coming up in that section. So those things we don't care about. Now, some things we do. Here's the fireplace that is in floor plan view, and doors of different sizes and sliding doors and windows galore. So these things we want. Eventually we want everything. So really we could select everything from here, and I'm going to select it all with the selection tool and copy it. And then I'm going to come in my boathouse and I'm going to Control V. Let's see if it's going to work out for me. Oh, that's funny. It still has my text needed. So let me try 2 ways. I never know because it's 2 different versions. So we'll try boathouse blocks one way. Let's try all select, Control C. So I'm clearing out my computer's idea of what I've Control C'd already today. It works just like text, usually. I'm going to qualify that because I haven't tried it in 2017 yet. So Control C is copy keyboard command. I'm going to go in here and Control V, and yes, it does work. So here's all of this stuff, and I'm going to pull it over to the one with the deck and patio because it's my most recent one. And then here's all my holes. Now, I haven't told you exactly where everything goes, and some of it you're going to want to look at your PDF, but I did say we're not concerned with these this week. Those are going to go later. So mostly I'm concerned with these. I'll move them closer to my drawing. And I'm doing a bunch of clicking right now. I'm just organizing my file. It's not like you have to have these right in the same place. They're going into the drawing. I just want you to see them next to the floor plan. So it's not a big deal. The copying in was Control C to copy in, Control V on your keyboard to paste. I believe if that keyboard stuff where you can't see it is very confusing, you could have selected it and hit copy. And then we could have gone into our drawing and we could do, let's see, I'm used to it being, where's my paste in here? Insert. Hey, Heather. Oh, there it is. It's over here on this side today. There it is, upper right. Paste my clipboard over here. Paste, and it would work the same way. So you can use the copy command here and paste over here, or you can use the copy command here and paste up here, and it'll work the same way. Okay? So then I've got these blocks. So these are my big front doors, I believe. Let me try them. So I'm going to move them about their interiormost door point. Yep, that's them. And I'm going to come up here, and I'll have to review my PDF. For now, I'm going to click it to where the tile ends, but I have a feeling there's not this big of a threshold and that it comes in a little bit more. So let's look at here. Yeah, it needs to come down halfway into that rectangle, and then we need to do some trimming. So if I go back to my drawing, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to move about its bottom corner. So then move, and then the end point to move about down in more. And I want to see if I've just uncomplicated it. I want it right in the middle of this threshold of this door. So there's half tile and half that coming out. So half tile and half that. And it's a little bit lower than center. So somewhere in there, that's believable. I won't pick at you guys too much over that one because it's too much baby measurements to force you into, but we're getting it centered with this rectangle that was created. And then in that case, we want to continue our tile lines to the edge of this. Now let's talk a little bit about what's happened when I brought in these blocks. This block file, when I clicked on these were labeled boathouse blocks. When I brought them into this drawing and I click on this, they're labeled boathouse blocks. So they're a different color, right? They're gray. If we don't want them to be that way, we're going to need to edit our blocks. So if I edit it, the individual blocks, it's large double doors, and I click OK. That was under the block panel, edit. It opens up this preview window. Large double doors, I click OK. I can move these from layer to layer. So I'm just going to use my selection tool, select all of those lines. I'm going to click on the Home tab in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm going to move this. So I want to create a layer that's windows and doors first. In my opinion, those are things I might want on a separate layer, but I don't want them to be on boathouse blocks. So let's create that layer this week as well, and we'll make that part of our block work that we're doing. So if I'm in here, and you can do stuff in the middle of commands, like I'm in the middle of a block, but I can still create a layer. I clicked on layer properties, and then I added a layer, and I'm going to do windows and doors. And let's make his color 254. Okay, so I am going to close out of that, and then I'm going to reselect here. And then I'm going to make the layer for those things windows and doors. Now notice the color has changed for my block, which means now it's going to be on windows and doors instead of this sneaky layer that comes in when you automatically download stuff from people you don't know or me. And I'm going to close the block editor with this X that says close the block editor. None of these, because I haven't saved my work yet for one, and I don't want it to close out of my drawing. When I want to close, it says save the changes, and I'm going to save the changes because I want it to retain that layer property. Now look, I can see it's not gray anymore, and it's on the layer that I want it to be, I hope. So let's see. We're going to put it on windows and doors if it's not, but it did maintain the property of windows and doors. So if it doesn't want to, blocks are kind of finicky. They want to retain as much as they can of that original layer. So then, once I've changed its color in editing, all I had to do was select on it. I did a double check. It wasn't on how I wanted it. So I then came down to windows and doors and it moved it to that layer. Okay, so now if I click on it, it is on windows and doors. And these lines are on my floor plan, which for you is a wall. Okay, so we've got our windows and doors. Now, what do you notice about this when you're looking at it? Something yuck. Yuck is that the tile is cutting through my doors. This is the one thing I see students mess up every semester. I need you to clean your drawings up. I don't want to see tile through doors. Doors are solid, so I wouldn't see the tile when I'm looking at bird's eye view of them through the doors. In that case, I'm going to trim from the doors. So I'm going to do trim. I'm going to select out my block objects. And this is interesting. This must be a like 2017 thing. Usually it'll just give you your whole block. And then hit enter because I've got those lines to trim to. And I'm going to clean out the interiors of these doors. So that's why I picked both sides of each door. And then I want to get rid of the tile extension lines. So this one's okay because the tile comes up over to this edge. It's a little confusing. We'll have to extend some stuff in a minute. Come in this other door and click to erase out and trim out those pieces. And then hit enter. So now it's nice and clean. I don't see those tile lines through. This is just the swing of the door. So yes, we'd still see the tile lines inside these swings. And then I want to, this is where 2 foot ends, but the tile in reality comes all the way to this threshold. So I need to extend these tile pieces to the interior threshold of this line. So I'm going to come in my trim tool in the upper left-hand corner, change it to extend. I'm going to pick this bottom line of my door, hit enter because that's what I'm extending to, and click those 3 interior pieces of tile so they extend all the way to the door's threshold. This is like that metal piece that's going between the carpet and the tile, the threshold that comes along with the door framing. All right, so then we've inserted a block. We've changed our block to be on a layer we actually want in our drawing, and we've changed its color. We're going to do it again. Now, all the windows are different sizes, and then some of these are doors. If you look at them, windows have the little mullions in them. Doors are usually overlapping, like this guy. So see how he has these 2 overlapping portions in here. So let's look. This is the baby window Cindy was talking about, right? Is it this one, Cindy, or is it this one? The first one? All right. So this is my little baby window. And if I measure him, his dimension appears to be 1'6". And I believe he's 6 inches from the end. Yep. So if you don't have him and we need to draw him in, and I'll double check and see if there wasn't enough information to locate him. He's the teeny tiny baby one. He's 1'6", 6 inches in from that corner. So what I'm going to do is grab my window block. I'm going to erase these out for my own sanity really quick. 1'6", 6 inches in. Find the baby block because he's the easiest one. And I'm going to do my move tool, click him, and hit enter. And then I'll pick, let's see, I'm going to use my best brain. The bottom left-hand corner, snap it into the corner here. And I did this because it'll have the easiest rotation in. So then I'm going to select him, and I am going to rotate. In the upper left-hand corner, I clicked rotate. Rotate about this corner and pull it up and to the left until it rotates into place. And now my block is placed. And now I'm going to take my block and modify him. So he's on boathouse blocks. Let's put him on windows and doors, and but see, it doesn't edit his color. He still maintains the color of whatever layer he was built on. So I need to edit that block. He's window 5. Click OK. I'm going to select the whole window with the selection tool, right to left. I'm going to go home and pick on windows and doors to change the color. And then I'm going to close my block editor and save it. Okay, so now he's matching up with everything. In each of these windows, you're going to do that too. Now I'm saving you the drawing. I'm saving you all the offsetting, the adding the mullions, the placement. And last year people drew them. So I want you to get used to blocks, which they're time consuming, but not as consuming as drawing them. Believe me, okay? So these are these little French doors. And they just move into place and they'll fit over there. And notice you got to get real close in if you want them to be accurate. So make sure you're moving it about its end points and you're really snapping it in specifically. It can't be off at all. Make sure you're going back and reviewing what is asked for in your PDF. And between those centered is your fireplace. So I'm going to go back and grab him. And we can just move some of this stuff into place. So he has a middle point, and I'm just using my move tool. Now something's got to give, because for me, I created this wall one big long giant line, which means I don't have anything to snap my fireplace to. So you're going to start using your logic skills and creating midpoints that are going to help you with that. So I could pull this node up to the edge of this window. And then I could create a line that goes from the edge of that window to the edge of this, because I need a true middle. If I pull it all the way down to here, it'll be a little bit longer and this fireplace will be off kilter. I take my line tool, and now look, I have to make sure that this says a wall, right? Because I'm continuing the house. So think about when you're going back to drawing on the house versus when you're placing your windows and doors. So I need to draw a line from the edge of this window to the edge of this window, which creates a midpoint for me to snap my fireplace to. Then I can click on Move and click on my block and hit Enter, click on its midpoint, and then find the midpoint of the new line that I just created. Which, hold on here, my husband in the background with my baby. All right, you got to be real delicate with it because it's like a subtle midpoint. There it is. All right, and then he'll go into place. And then I could, once that's placed, continue out this line by grabbing its node and connecting it, or draw another line, whatever you want to do. And then change these things. I want all of them to be on windows and doors and be the correct color. So I'm skipping over those steps, but it applies to each and every block this week that we go in and edit them. Now I wonder if we can do multiples at once. Let me see. Edit. Nope, it wants to do one at a time. So there's no batch editing. Let's see. Here's edit attributes. It's a variable attributes of a block individually or globally. Let me see. I might think about that. And if I can do that, I'll post a video later. If it's going to be a batch thing that we could collect them all at once and do, I'll Google that for you guys, and I'll try to post one by tomorrow if there's something simpler that I've never learned on that. In all my years, I've just stuck with the old dog tricks. So let's make this bigger. We're moving them all, we're testing them, but reviewing your original PDF shows you these are the overlapping doors, both here and here, and these are all windows. So that'll help you navigate which ones go where. All right, we'll go back to assignment 4 on here. So we're downloading those blocks, but that's just half the battle. I'm preparing 108 students for their floor plans that are coming up this week and in following weeks. You're building on them. So I thought, how many blocks could I get you that you would just be so happy I gave them to you? And that was what that little link was. If we go back out to our modules, how can I make 108 easier? So every year I give blocks, but sometimes I make them a little bit more difficult to find or provide you with some. I'm just giving you the source, and I want you to think of this as like in real life, there's so many websites. If you go to, you just type in free CAD blocks, you'll get so many hits. Now, some are more reliable than other. I've never had trouble with viruses or anything, but if it looks super unreputable and you want to ask me if it's a reputable source, I can. Some look really sketchy and they're actually very useful. So I've given you one that I know is safe. If you click on this link, and if it doesn't open here, you can click on the little white repetition of that there. Free CAD blocks kitchen O2. Lovely. These are all useful things. Ranges. We have them both in elevation and in floor plan view. We've got sinks and they're pre-drawn. It doesn't get much better. Now we're imperial, not metric. We're in inches, not decimals. So we want to imperial download now and save as wherever you're working. So I'm just doing desktop because I'm lazy and I don't take this class. But if it's you, it's going to your 115 folder. So you're keeping track of all these things as a resource to yourself. And we're going to open them. It says it's read only, but that's okay because we're going to move them and copy them. And I can copy any of these things into my drawing. So what I want to see you do is just that. I just want to see that you've opened this file and you could copy them all if you want. Now, the more things you copy, the slower your drawing is. It takes a lot to make it slow. But just be, I'd be thoughtful. Like we don't need all these elevations yet. So maybe these floor plan view things would be useful to us, but not every single one of them. So I'm just going to select a couple of them. And again, I can click copy in the upper right with the 2 pieces of paper. And then I'm going to go back into my drawing and I'm going to pick up a place that's not really obnoxious and paste them down below. And now they're a resource to me that I can just move right into my drawing when I'm doing my floor plans. Maybe they're rich people that have a 6-burner stove, or maybe they just have 2. Whatever you have, you can decide that on your own. But you have lots of options, and it's not the only website, so don't limit yourself. Also, we can modify everything. So if I click on a block and I edit it, and you say, I want this, but I also want this on the other side, you can always go into your block, and everything is lines and shapes. That's what's so lovely about AutoCAD. I can go to home and I can copy this portion and I can pull it over. I can extend my lines and move stuff until I've created something. Ooh, I can eat that. My husband's trying to take care of me. He's bringing me dinner things as I'm teaching. And so now I've created double that. And I don't want to be more precise with moving that, but all I would do is close it, save the changes, and it will update that change to my block. How wonderful is that? So you can see the benefits of these, and you could have saved it as a different block. So whatever you want to do. If you say, you know what, I want to keep that block, but I wish I had a line drawing like that, you could copy it. And then you could take this guy, and remember we talked about explode in the upper left-hand corner? Let's explode it. And now it's just lines, and you could move it all around and edit it. And once you edit it in here, if you're more comfortable with that, you make this ugly thing, and then you select all of that, and you type block. I know I'm burning through this. This is more. I'm just trying to show you the usability of this and the flexibility. I type block, and I type new, sync, thing, thong. Thought my brain's dying. All right, and then I click OK. And now I have a new sync thong, and it's its own block, and I can move it all at once instead of having 1,000 different lines. But really, you're concerned. Yeah, go ahead.
I like everything you're doing, but you might want to show them how to specify the pick point.
Mm-hmm.
when you create a block?
It doesn't bother me because, well, okay. Because it's always going to find it now with the new CAD. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean, Heather?
Well, if it's not on the screen and you go
Oh,
to
it'll
insert
come
it,
in.
it will
Yeah,
show up wherever on.
yeah, got you. All right, yeah. How about let's do that. So what Heather's saying is, well, these you're saying if I create a new block like what I just did here.
Yeah, like even if right now you hit insert and then you chose that one, it'll show up in some random spot.
Okay,
You don't
let's do that then.
specify it.
All right, so if I'm going to do, let's do this. We're going to explode this again. We want to modify it, and then we're going to make it a block. So we're going to do block. We're going to type in take two. You don't have to do this. This is not for homework. This is like way and above. What you have to do is bring these blocks in and show me you've saved them in your file so you don't come to me and say, I had to draw my own stovetop and it was miserable. All right, so pick point, is that what you want me to do? And then do it about an end point.
I mean, it really depends. A lot of times with a sink, I'll do like 2 inches behind the faucet so I know that I can just plop it down on a countertop.
Okay, so like
But
here.
that's totally whoever, you know.
So I
Whatever
specified
works.
it on the screen and then I clicked OK. And so, oh, it didn't do it though. Select objects, enter, and then click OK. And now it's its own block. And then if we insert it, so it's take two. Let's say we went into this one and we want to insert our block. So let's see. Insert and QRS. Oh man, I don't know where all my blocks are saved. Well, that's a whole thing. But anyway, what Heather's getting at is a little advanced, but I picked a point. So right here, instead of not picking a point, and if we did insert it into something, it could come up like way in the corner and irregular. But with that point being added, it's going to allow us a point to insert it about. So it'll be sticky with our mouse, our little crosshairs, and let us put it where we need to put it, is basically what we're getting at. So that's if you create your own, which you may never do for a while. We've got a little week before we have to do that or so. But with these guys, you're bringing them in. So that was kitchen blocks. It was free. And look how many that you got. It's a safe, reputable source. Really easily on the same website and the same little toggle button. I want you to bring in furniture this week. You can bring in as much or as little as you want, but I want to see furniture, bathroom, kitchen. So I like these ones, free furniture, sofas, and couches. Come on, 108 people, get excited, right? You get all of these layouts. And not only are they like sporadic, they give you actual floor plans. Now, I can't vouch for the surety and usefulness of the spacing of the furniture, but it doesn't look that bad. This one looks a little sketchy. It's too close. It needs to be about 16 inches between that front of that table and that sofa. But other than that, it's getting us way far ahead of the game with all these symbols, right? All right, so same thing. You just do download Imperial, save as, open. It opens in CAD. Okay, so you're bringing in for your homework according to this. We have to go back to our assignments. You're bringing in furniture, bathroom items, and kitchen items, which can all be found on this free site. I'm just asking you to repeat it and create a library for yourself within your own file. So there's also bathroom. And there's ADA bathroom. Just saying. Disability toilet, and then we have all of our sinks and toilets, and we have bathtubs and showers and other views. So not just in plan view, but in elevation, which will be useful for future weeks. So take from these things. Use them. Okay, so I'll go back to my assignment Assignment 4. We're killing it. Layer names, patio, deck. Block libraries, you're placing the doors and windows based off the file included right here. And then you're going out to a website that I've given you under one of those links under the week 4. And you're going to bring in other blocks, kitchen blocks, bathroom blocks, and furniture. The windows and doors I just included because this is what you'll eventually have in there is my windows and doors, kitchens, bathrooms, and furniture. Okay. Questions so far? I know the question, well, it's more like you're going very fast, but at the same time, it should be manageable, and I am trying to save you work by making you use these blocks instead of drawing a bunch of lines, and I cut a section drawing out. So it's more manageable than the previous year. Let's see. Any questions about the website, downloading? All the drawing today has been stuff we've reviewed before. You don't have to make a block. That's just me being fancy and showing you why they're so great. And the layers you've covered before too. Can you go over adding furniture layers and other layers? So just creating new layers and naming them, Cindy? Like kind of what I did at the beginning. I can do it again, but is that what you mean? If I say I want you to add up here these layers, furniture, fixture, equipment. Okay, so let's think about how it's all coming together. If we go back into our boathouse drawing, now I've got bathroom objects and furniture symbols, so I hopefully will create a layer that's named furniture, and I happen to have created one. If I hadn't created it yet, I click on Layer Properties. This is, if you hover over it, New Layer, and I would type Furniture. Now, I already have one, so I'm not going to like recreate it, but anyway. I have it would then create a layer like this, Furniture, and we could pick a color for it, which I just arbitrarily picked 253, and now I have a layer for it. So let's say these things, these kitchen things were actually furniture things. Or if that's confusing to you, let's say this is a table that came in as a block from a website. I would want to take my table and I would want to put it on a furniture layer. Right now it came on a wall because I drew it, but I can just click through and select the layer I want. So now if I do something else, I'm drawing on those walls. The walls are on floor plan. If I escape off of them and I click back on my table's on furniture. And that happened because when I dropped down the menu, had the table selected and moved to a different layer, it puts it on whatever layer I move to. So as we're bringing in blocks, if you have a layer like furniture is clearly made and we're bringing in furniture, we can move those blocks to that layer. Now the only ones that I expect you to change the color for, let me be clear on this, the only ones to change the color for are the windows, and you should make sure that when you're doing it, you're trying to probably match all of these things, like all of your walls and your windows, so it's not like gray windows and walls. Although eventually I'm going to teach you a smooth trick to change things on layers even more so than now. But like if this was 253, it could all be 253 windows and walls because they're going together even though they're on separate layers. But hopefully the moving of things to layers and creating them is just a couple simple clicks. Properties, new layer, a name, and a color. And then whenever you're moving something, so I'm actively in a wall right now, but when I click on an object, it's thinking, what do you want to do with this object? They're on layer 0. Well, if they had been furniture things, I could say, well, I don't want them on 0. I want them to be on furniture. So I could click on furniture. Now, some blocks are smarter than other blocks. When I clicked on furniture, it changed these blocks' color and moved them. So if I click on here again, it's floor plan. If I click on here, it's furniture. So see how it moved those things? When you select object and then it come up here and change a layer, it changes the object. But Once you've done that, it throws you back into, like once you're ready to do a command, it goes back into the drawing layer. So be conscious that you always have to be, if you want to draw something new, watch where it's going to take you when you get into a command. It's not going to be on furniture. It's going to be on the last thing we drew on. So you can always be moving stuff by pulling down like this, but if you want to actively be drawing on it, it has to have the green check mark by it, which right now is A wall. Okay, so you're bringing in furniture, bathroom items, and kitchen items. You're changing the color of my blocks to show me that you can. These are someone else's blocks. I don't care. If you want to change them later and make them pretty, that's for 108 and that's on you. We're going to use very specific ones later for people who aren't in 108, and those will already have a color or we'll create them that day. But for everybody as a whole, everyone this week is bringing in everything, and we're just making a library. And only the ones that I did that are gray and so obviously different than this are we trying to change a block layer, because it's a good skill to have. These could be whatever they come in as. You just push them in here and leave them be. Unless you're in 108, and then you're going to start building little floor plans off to the side with them. All right, back to this assignment. So that's block libraries. Basic text. Okay. Ugh, working from home is hard. Now I've got a cat. So our basic text is just me, again, helping 108 and other people who are ready to maybe use this for your friends. You're like, I can draw pretty much anything. I want to be able to print it and write on it and let people know with my notes what I'm doing. So in the file I've given you, we already have text. If you click on text and you zoom into your drawing, it'll have a little ABC prompt, and I can left click and then pull over to create a text box. And I could type bedroom. Well, I've got to spell it right. And then click off. Now, what did I do? When I was in here, if I double click on it, let's review what's going on here in reality. If I double click to edit whatever the text was standardized to, I can see the font style is veranda. The color is by layer. Uh-oh, I don't think I was on the right layer. The size is 6 inches. So right here under this spot, I could change the size. If I don't like how big bedroom is, this is supposed to be a big label for a whole room, I could do 10 inches and see what I like about that. So let's select the font first. Backspace are 6 inches in the upper left-hand corner and type 10 inches, enter. Well, it's bigger. It might be adequate. I'm going to tell you a personal teacher preference. I think caps are more professional, and they make it look more balanced. So if I do bedroom, and that's a room label, it's different than note text, which is irregular sizes or capitals at the beginning of sentences and smaller throughout. So I have bedroom there. I could also treat bedroom like an object, and I can select on it and then click scale and then find a bottom point, which is just a node. I have nodes on, which might be helpful. It was under my snaps down here in the lower right. I have node selected. Find this node, click, and start pulling up or down, and it's going to make it bigger by scaling it. Now, the more zoomed in you are, the more control you have of the size increase. Notice it was like huge at first. The more zoomed in I am to that node, the more I can control it to be smaller and closer to that point. But maybe that's too much. Let's see what it's done if we double click on it. Now it's 3 foot, 10 and 5/8. Remember, you can always go back in and select it just like text in a Word document and type in 12 inches and scale it back to a normal size. Cindy says, can you only change the color of doors and windows once they are inserted? Is the question that if I wasn't here, could I have added them here? Could I have edited them? Yes, you could. This is just another drawing file. So at any time, I could edit these blocks. Let's see if like, I don't think it's going to be useful because these are still different layers. I could have changed the color here maybe, so it would have been like, oh, well, this is the same color, and then eventually change it. So let's say I knew I wanted it to be 254, and I click OK. That changed all of them to 254 all at once, Cindy. So then they are 254. Well, then, is it as easy as doing this? Copy this. Cindy might be onto something. We'll copy it, boathouse drawing, and then we're going to paste those up here. All right, so up here, once I brought them into here, suddenly they're back to boathouse blocks, and it looks like they've gotten rid of their layer that I just changed them to be in there. So we can't just play with things outside of their real block layers. So even though it's on boathouse blocks layer, I think I still have to edit them. So what I'm going to do this time is, even though they look like this, notice they came in gray. You can edit them, but I think you have to really edit them. So if I click on it and edit it here, okay, and then I select everything in here, and I were to edit it here and say home, boathouse blocks by layer. Ooh, this is becoming an interesting thing. 254. And then close my block editor and save the changes. Now if I do this and I copy it and I paste it. All right, let's see. I'm going to say, if I click on this guy, he's still defaulting. Now, you can edit and change it. My thought is, because we've already brought it in, it's confused by the duplication of them. So let me see if I were to create a new drawing over here and I was to paste it in here. In here, it comes in at 254. So you're discovering a lot for us, Cindy. So if Cindy had originally, when she opened the CAD blocks drawing, changed them to be color 254, and then brought those blocks into her drawing file before having done it the first way I did, they would all technically be that color, which means she might very simply be able to pick a different layer and have them be on the right layer with the right color all at once. That's a lot of thinking. And eventually we'll change everything to be on the right layers. But yes, Cindy, you can edit it in its original file because it's just objects in a drawing. And if you do it smart and you do it all the color at once, which it automatically changes them all, yeah, you could have moved them in because there was no duplicate telling it to be a different color. So that's smart. All right, so let's go back to this guy in our assignment. So text, yeah, I'm just asking you to come into your drawing and show me that you can use the text that's automatically there. Now, if we go under annotate, let's look at what we've got. We've got notes, arc bold, block, Roman, all these things. And some of them will do funny things because some are annotative and some are not, and we're not getting into that today. So whatever it's set to, automatically when you open the file, it should be the same as mine. If I look at this guy in my text and I double click on him, you should be seeing these same things. So it's notes, veranda, 1 foot, by layer, but we want to make sure it's on the right layer. It's the only thing I didn't do right. So we want to put all of our text on our label layer. Okay. And once it's on the label layer, we're good to go. But I just want you to give me these words: living room, dining room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, at varying sizes to show me that you're playing with that tool and can add text to your drawing. All right, so I could go about this a couple ways. I could copy this just about an endpoint and create all of those and then edit them and say I have bedroom. Okay, this one's living room. I have that one. Okay, this one's dining room, and so on and so forth. Or if you want to practice making text boxes, you can click on text, click left, drag right, and type it anew and reset the sizes and try different sizes. So I could try 20 inches, let's say, and say dining, and just show me these. And if you're doing something special for class, then do it at whatever size you want it to be. But that should help the people who are doing floor plans and need to have labels for the upcoming weeks and need all these blocks. Okay. Notice the point values. Okay, PDF, it's the last thing on our list. So in the 15 minutes we have, we're going to review our PDF D size, and you're going to have to help me with my pregnancy brain remember how much I told you last week. So do you have naturally with the file you got from me this ArcD, or did you create it after watching the video last week? And if not, then we'll make one from scratch.
I don't have an ArcD.
All right, let's do it then. So we're going to right click on layout 1, and we're going to do from template, and all right, so let's see, sheet sets, architectural imperial, and this should come up, Arch D, and then click OK. I'll do it one more time. So right click on an existing layout, click on from template, sheet sets, architectural imperial, Arc D. Okay. Now I have a bunch of them down here. Does everybody have one, or you could do one if you needed to? Okay, well, if you're doing it in your free time, it's not hard. Just follow those steps. It should be a natural item that's included on your AutoCAD download. If for some reason it's not showing up when you do those steps, let me know and we'll figure it out. So once you have that, and any one you have, so this was the one I had, or maybe my second one, it creates this screen, which is a D-size architectural sheet. And I think that's 32 by something, but we'll see when we go to print. We're going to create a view. So what am I doing? View. Oh, that's what I want to do. Let me see. I'm trying to think about really what I want to do here. Hey, Heather.
Yes.
What am I really? Viewport. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
Viewport. So I type in viewports, and then I get this screen. And I want to click on single, and then I want to click OK. And then I'm going to left to right click in here to create a window. And look, it's a window into my drawing. So then I'm going to double click in. And I said all I want to see is that you scroll in and have this at, and I have to check it tonight. And one second, I've got to move all my GoToMeeting stuff. You can't see it, but it's in the way of my controller. Getting rid of my properties palette. Let's check this at a 1/4 inch. It's either a 1/4 or an 1/8, and I can update the, yep, a 1/4 is right. So a 1/4 inch, zoom in so I can see your patio, the rest of your core, and your deck. I don't care about anything else. I just want to see we can make a PDF with a certain amount in view, create a viewport on an ArcD, and print it to a PDF. So once you've got it kind of located, remember we can pan. I'm panning by clicking with my center scroll. So I clicked on my center scroll and I'm not letting go, and I can pan around. I can zoom in by pulling forward and back with my center scroll on my mouse. And I just have a window into my drawing space created by this rectangular viewport. Then I'm going to double click out of that rectangle because now I don't have anything. Now, mine's weird because last week I created a little viewport here, so we're going to pretend it didn't exist. You never saw that. You should only have one viewport on here. But I can print this. And I go up to my little printer on my quick access toolbar, my plotter. Ignore the unreconcilable layer. Continue to plot. And it says the paper size is 24 by 36 inches, which is right. And it's at a 1/4 inch. And we're going to change this to be whatever PDF program you have. Adobe PDF, Creator, whatever it is. If you don't have any of those, you can do drawing to a PDF, which hopefully you'd have. And sometimes drawing to a PDF is actually more accurate. But for this week, I just want to try it, get it on a paper. And you can always preview in the lower left-hand corner. And this is what we see. It's got that size sheet at a 1/4 inch, and I can see my plan there in view. Now hold on one second. I'm gonna find my go-to meeting and check my chat. Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to create that D-size sheet, and then I'm gonna exit out of this. So if you exit out of your preview, you can then print and click OK, and it'll create a PDF, which this is what you're sending to me. So it's going to my documents or your desktop or your folder. And if you want to give it a name that you remember, it should have the name of your file at the top, and maybe you say D-size PDF if you want it to be clear what you're saving. It does say ArcD right here. Beep, beep, beep. And then save, and then you're sending that and attaching it to me wherever it's saving from later on Blackboard. Well, I've learned. I'm dating myself. All right, so there's my PDF that it created, which is awesome. If I go back in here, again, if I have a whole bunch of blank ones. So if you have a blank one like this, you're just typing the word VIEWPORTS, viewports, enter. Clicking on single, clicking OK. Click one point, click another point. Double click in to be able to scroll in and out with your mouse scroll and pan with your mouse pan. Scroll in until you see most of it and you're about right. Then in the lower right hand corner, choose your scale to be a 1/4 inch. 1/4 equals 1 foot. Let it adjust, double click out, and then you're ready to print. You don't need to fill in the title. I just want to see that people who need to be able to print for these other classes can. And if they want to fill this in, you just double click and can start typing. So we're really concerned about getting it on a paper with our plotter. No, I'll ignore that. I'll continue to plot. Adobe PDF or Creator or Drawing to PDF, and then click OK, and it'll create your PDF. All right, that really covers everything that's due for the next week. I gotta go because I've gotta start my other class in 7 minutes, but if you have questions, let me know. And also, Heather's been having a lot of people on Monday, and I have my hours on Tuesday, but I was wondering if Mondays are more convenient because some of you have classes on Tuesday. And then that way I'd be there with Heather so she's not kind of overwhelmed with people, and we'd both be there during hours that aren't active class hours.
Yeah, Monday would be great for me.
Okay, then I'm probably going to switch my day to Monday, and that works totally fine with my schedule. So I'd be in Mondays. It'd be about, the difference would be I'd get in there at 12:50, and then I'd probably be there 2 or 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, which is my normal hours. So at least I'd have some hours while you guys aren't in class, and then any appointment times you guys want to set up with me later.
That's great. Thanks.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go, and I will post this video for you tomorrow. Okay? Have a good night.
Thank you.